Alright, so in the first video we went over everything I'm going to be installing, the so-called turbo kit, which now that we got that out of the way, we actually get to work on the car and start installing everything, which in this video I'm going to start off by installing the exhaust manifold, which I'll go over a little bit of information about that, boring, but we'll also mount the turbo, just make sure it fits and everything. I'm not going to mount it 100%, but I just want to make sure it clears the block and get an idea of how I'm going to have to clock it and that sort of thing to run like feed line, drain lines, all of that. We should just jump straight into it and get to work. So this is the exhaust manifold I'm going to be using. It's just an eBay bottom mount. It's very simple, and whenever you're looking at exhaust manifolds trying to pick out which one you want, there's a few things you want to keep in mind. The main thing is, if you're going to be using a turbo without an internal wastegate like this, which is you can see it be right here, you're going to need a port on the manifold to mount your wastegate, which I'd recommend just getting one with a port no matter what. It's a lot easier to pluck it off instead of welding, drilling, and fabricating a whole new place to mount it. It's just go ahead and get one with a mount, just make sure you have that. And also make sure that your mounting flange mounts up to your turbo, which most of them are T3, so I would just recommend getting a T3 turbo. But other than that, it's pretty simple. Also with E36s, there's two main styles of manifold really. You have top mounts and bottom mounts, which top mounts, they mount the turbo right in front of the engine bay up high, which it looks sick. You can fit a bigger turbo than a bottom mount, but it's going to be harder to run your downpipe. You're going to have to go over the valve cover, and if you have a strut bar under that, it's just a lot of work, and they're a lot more expensive. The cheapest one you're probably going to find is about $300, so you can get one if you want, but I'd recommend getting a bottom mount. It's not as cool as a top mount, but it's easier. You can mount the turbo, and it's way easier to do a downpipe that's already down there. You don't have to snake it through everything. So trying to keep this simple for everybody and myself. So I was actually going to go top mount and ended up switching to bottom mount, and I'd really recommend the same if you're trying to keep things cheap and do things the easy way. But now we'll actually get to installing it, get done talking, and hopefully everything will mount up, the turbo will clear, and all will go well. But let's jump into it. Alright, so I got the exhaust manifold installed, and thank goodness the turbo fits, which is actually quite a bit of clearance. And at the moment I only have like a couple bolts holding the manifold flush to the side of the block, which I'm going to go through and put all the other bolts in later. It's just a pain. If any of you have ever worked on like E36 headers or anything, you know how much of a pain in the ass all those little bolts can be. But the turbo clears. I had to clock it quite a bit. It barely clears the engine mount, but it clears, and that's all that matters, which I'll show you now, just show you how it fits and all of that. So here it is, and you can see the lovely little turbo down there, but these are the little bolts that I was talking about on the side. I don't know if I can get a good shot of it, but right here, and there's just a billion of them, one here, here, and it's so labor intensive. It's just a pain in the ass, but it clears. And one thing I do have to say is, which you can't really see it, but that port for the wastegate that I showed you earlier is right by the frame rail, so I'm gonna have to like weld up like a elbow or something to angle it downward just to clear the frame rails. I don't know how I'm going to do that, which I knew ahead of time I was going to have to do that, but I'll figure something out. But now I will crawl under the car with my phone, see if I can get up under here. But obviously you can see the turbo there, and this is the engine mount. If I can get there, I'm trying to play Tetris here, but that's the engine mount. You can see it barely clears the housing here, which, let me see if I can get a better angle of it. You can see just how close it is there, which this turbo's still a bit loose, just so I could clock it and everything. But you can get an idea, there is the drain somewhere in there, which I need to angle because it has to go from there to the pan here, which should work out pretty well. But this is what I was worried about. I was worried about the turbine housing. I believe this one is clearing the block, which you can see there's plenty of room there, so nothing to worry about. And you can probably fit a much larger turbo. You just have to worry about this inlet here hitting the engine mount and the arm wherever it is there. But that is the exhaust manifold installation. It's really straightforward. That's why this video is pretty short and just to the point. You just take bolts off, put bolts in. It's real simple, which if any of you are wondering my turbo size, just so you can get a reference how much clearance if you're trying to fit a bigger turbo, mine is a 48 turbine housing and a 50 compressor housing. So you could probably fit a 63 somewhere in that range. I wouldn't go 70 like my other one, but 63 would probably clear. You might have to get a special engine mount. They make them for those just to give you more inlet clearance. But overall it's a simple job. And next I'm going to be moving on to the wastegate. I'm actually going to take a wastegate dump pipe and just make it like an elbow and mount it underneath. Just try something along those lines. And then after that I'm going to move on to feeds and stuff, and then I start starting the car with the turbo, all of that goodness, which I'm just going to keep the video short. If you have any questions, as always, just let me know in the comment section. I'll try to answer. I'm sure other people will try to answer that are much more knowledgeable than me. But stay tuned. I'm going to try and keep this build going, get this thing turboed as quick as possible. And until then.